Good morning, students. We were doing the story A Gorilla in the Guest Room by Gerald Steele. So, what happened? We were on page 80. We have to start from the second paragraph of page 80. Npongo was there in the cage and he had adjusted. He was a very human-friendly, pro-human kind of a gorilla. So he was very comfortable in the company of human beings. He didn't hate humans, right? And everyone in the zoo loved him, right? Why? Because of his very agile, active, naughty behavior. Within 12 months, Npongo had almost doubled his size, and I felt it was now time to try, by fair means or foul, to obtain a mate for him. See, this has been told to you earlier that why was the narrator interested in keeping rare species in the zoo? Why was he interested in keeping the rare species and the species which are endangered ones in his zoo? Who can tell me? What was his objective behind doing this? Yes, Shadi.
And to conserve them and to make the zoo a breeding ground for such species.
Yes, because he wanted them to breed in captivity, right? So this way they will be able to increase in number. So that is why he that was the objective of bringing a gorilla, because gorilla is one of the rare animals, right? They are not in large number on this planet. So he wanted to conserve them, and that is why gorilla was brought into the zoo. So now within 12 months, Npongo had almost doubled his size. So now he was a grown-up gorilla. He has become large in size, and I felt it was now time to try by fair means or foul. So anyhow, by fair means or foul means anyhow, you want your objective to be achieved, to obtain a mate for him. So now anyhow, he wanted to have a female gorilla also in the zoo. Unless they lack finances, I have no use for zoos that acquire animals purely for exhibition and make no effort to provide them with a mate. So this was the narrator's opinion. Unless the zoos are in lack of finances, unless they are in urgent need of money, unless they are suffering from financial crisis, it's no use that animals are just kept in the zoo for exhibition purpose. If the zoo is suffering financial crunch, is suffering from financial crisis, then they are going for exhibition of the animals to the visitors and the public. It is fine. It is a means of earning money to support the animals in the zoo and to support the zoo itself, right? So it is a means of earning money in that fashion by putting the animals for exhibition to the visitors who come there. But according to the narrator, the main purpose of a zoo should be to provide them with a mate. Provide the animals which are kept in the zoo with a mate, so that they are able to produce their offsprings. That is important. This applies particularly to apes and specifically for the apes. The problem does not arise while they are young. Why? He has given his reasons. Why apes which are kept in the zoo, they should be provided with a mate. They should be provided with a partner. Why this should be done, he has explained. The problem does not arise while they are young. So when an ape is young, it is fine. He'll be friendly with the human being. But once the ape grows up, what happens? It increases in its strength, it doubles in size, and it becomes a huge animal, right? So the problem does not arise when they are young, for they accept the human beings around them as their adopted, if slightly eccentric family. So they consider humans to be eccentric, but still they accept them as their family, right? They consider human beings which are around the apes to be a part of their family. Then comes the time when they are so powerful that you do not, if you have any intelligence, treat them in the same intimate way. So then, after some time, when they grow in strength and size, what happens? You cannot treat them in a similar fashion like you used to do earlier when they were too small. Then you can make an ape sit on your lap. But the gorilla is an ape which has a huge size. So a huge gorilla, you know, we cannot make him sit on your lap. Right? There'll be cracks in your bones. So you cannot treat them in the same intimate manner like you used to treat them when they were young, once they are grown up. So when a gorilla or a chimpanzee or an orangutan at the age of 3 or 4 pulls your leg from under you or jumps from a considerable height onto the back of your neck, it tests your stamina to the full and is done because you are the only companion with whom he can play. So this is the case. When when a gorilla or a chimpanzee or an orangutan were these kind of apes which are large size, then once they are grown up, right? At the age of 3 or 4, they pull your leg from under you like this gorilla used to do, this Nkongo used to do. So at the age of 3 or 4 years, they are transformed into huge animals. They are too big in size, right? And jumps from you. So either when they pull your leg, what will happen? There are chances that you will have a slip disc and you will injure your spine. If they do so, they will do it because they consider you to be your friend. They will do it with a very playful attitude. But it will cost a lot to you, to the human being. So the strength which you possess and the strength which the gorilla possesses, there is a great difference in it. So, or jumps from a considerable height, or in a very playful mood, if a gorilla jumps on you, who is 3, 4 years of age, jumps on you from a considerable height, right, on the back of your neck, what will happen? You can even fracture your spine, right? It tests your stamina to the full. And is done because you are, and the gorilla will do it without any malice, without any bad feelings, or without any intention to hurt you. It will be just a part of his play. He will feel that, it will feel that just playing with you, but for you, it will be very like expensive. And if you don't become friendly with the animal, what will happen? See, gorillas and apes are very sociable animals. They like to be in society. They don't like to be left alone. So if he's left on his own and is a nice natured app, he will try to play the same games with you when he is 11 or 12. So if he is left like this, he will try to on his own, and he's a nice natured, a very sociable app. What he will do, he will try to play the same games with you when he is even 11 and 12 years of age, and that means a broken leg or a broken leg. At 11 and 12, it will mean when he's 3 or 4, it will just test your stamina. But when he becomes even bigger at the age of 11 and 12, you are definitely going to break your neck or your leg or some other part of the body. So if this friendly, exuberant animal is kept on his own and deprived of both the company of his own kind and that of human beings, you can hardly be surprised if he turns into a morose and a melancholy creature. What will happen if the grown-up gorilla is not kept in the company of human beings whom he considers to be his adopted family? Because the apes, they are very friendly to human beings and they can easily adjust with the human beings. So if they are devoid of their company because they can be injurious to their health, and then they are devoid of the company of their own species, they are not given a mate also, then what will happen? Then that animal will be left alone, and there are chances that it might become a very morose, melancholic, sad, depressed, gloomy creature. A very lively ape can be transformed into a sad and a depressed animal due to the lack of company. Not wanting to see Nkongo degenerate into one of those magnificent but sad and lonely anthropoids that I have seen in many zoos, including some that had ample resources for providing a meal. So the narrator didn't want Nkongo to be transformed into a very gloomy and a sad kind of an ape, which he has seen in several zoos. Though the zoos had financier enough to buy a maid. Still, they were not interested in doing it. So he didn't want that this thing should be repeated in his zoo, and so he thought of getting a maid for Nkongo. Because now Nkongo was growing up and it will not be possible for the human beings to be his friends for long. It would lead to some kind of physical damage for the human being. So that is why the narrator thought that it would be better that we should find a mate for Nkongo. I thought the time had come to try to procure a wife for Nkongo, even though I knew that our funds would probably not stretch that far. In spite of the fact that the narrator was, in spite of the fact that the narrator didn't have that much money to afford another gorilla in the zoo. You remember how he arranged for Nkongo, how he arranged the funds to bring Nkongo into the zoo. Now thinking about another gorilla will be like stretching too far, right? Like going too far. So what did he do? I telephoned the dealer from whom he had gotten Nkongo and asked him about the possibilities of obtaining a female gorilla. So he called the same animal dealer from whom he had got this Nkongo and asked him if some female gorilla was available with him, and he wanted to buy a female gorilla also. He told me he had just been offered one, a year or so younger than Nkongo. So this female gorilla was there with the animal dealer, and he was younger than Nkongo by a year. One more thing. So he told him that there was a female gorilla who was younger than 1 year younger than Nkongo. But now, owing to the political situation in Africa, the price has increased and he was asking 1,500 pounds. So, how much did the narrator pay for Nkongo? Who can tell me? Yes, Aditi Singh.
Some 1,200 pounds.
1,200 pounds, right? He had to pay 1,200 pounds for Nkongo, and now for this another female gorilla, he was asked for 1,500 pounds. Why? Because of the political situation in Africa, right? Maybe there was some kind of political crisis in Africa, and the African government was no longer interested in the wildlife and in preserving and conservation of the animals. So that is why the price has increased, and he was asking for 1,500 pounds. There followed 2 days of soul searching. So soul searching, what do you mean by soul searching? Soul searching means when you contemplate over something, or when you ponder over something, right? To go into a very deep consideration or deep thought about something, about some of your emotion or your feeling, or you want to do something and you think about it very deeply, right? That whether you should go for it, whether you should follow that course of action or you should not do it. So that is soul searching. So what happened? There was 2 days of soul searching for the narrator. The narrator thought about his plan, his idea of having a female gorilla in the zoo for 2 days, because arranging for 1,500 pounds was really a tough job, right? It was not that easy for the narrator. We didn't have funds. We know this from the beginning of the story. So there followed 2 days of soul searching. I know we could not afford that amount of money in advance. So, and then after considerable thought, he came to realize that there is no way that he can arrange for this entire amount of money, that is an entire sum of 1,500 pounds together. So he thought of another one. But we might be able to do it if it was spread over a period. So he decided to buy the female gorilla in installments. Once again, I telephoned the dealer and asked him whether he would consider letting us have the animal on installment. So he again called the animal dealer and asked him if it was possible to buy the female gorilla and make the payment in installments instead of paying the entire amount in one go. To his credit and to my relief, he agreed and said that his representative would bring her over to Jersey in a week's time. So he agreed, and it was decided that within a week's time, one of his representatives, one of his agents will bring the female gorilla to Jersey within a week. The whole zoo waited for that week with bated breath. Bated breath means with a lot of, the whole zoo was very anxious of that day when the female gorilla will come to the zoo. I, prompted by a slightly acrimonious conversation with my bank manager, spent the week by having a collecting box made over which hung the notice. We have bought Nandi on the installment plan. Please help us to keep up the installments. So the bank manager, again, acrimonious conversation, bitter, very angry. The bank manager was very annoyed with this person, with the narrator, because he must have borrowed money to pay the first installment also, right? He didn't have funds in the bank. So I, prompted by a slightly acrimonious conversation, and because he had a bitter argument with the bank manager, so what did he do? What did the narrator do? He hung a collecting box in the zoo, and a notice was pasted on that collecting box that we have bought, and Nandi. Nandi will be the name of, Nandi is the name of the female gorilla which was coming to the zoo. We have bought Nandi on installment plan. Please help us to keep the installment. So a box was hung, and the visitors who came to the zoo, they were supposed to deposit some money in that box, put in some money in that box, so that the narrator is able to pay the installments. So Nandi arrived. So this is how Nandi came to the zoo. Crouched in a crate that I would have considered small for a squirrel. So from the entire story, I mean from the till the point where we have read, we know one character trait of the narrator, that he had great amount of love and consideration for these animals, right? He was considerate towards the animals, right? So when Nandi arrived in the zoo, in the container, the size of the container was very small, right? The narrator would have considered that container to be small for a squirrel, but somehow Nandi was made to fit in that small container. She, like Nkongo, appeared to be in perfect condition. Her fur was glossy. Now this is the description of Nandi, which you need to remember. Her fur was glossy, she was fat, and her skin had a sheen. Sheen means shine and luster. Her skin had a sheen like satin. So there was her skin was shining like satin. Satin is a cloth, right? It has a certain amount of gloss. So, but at first sight of her, it was her eyes that impressed me. So there was something about the eyes of Nandi which impressed the narrator. What was it? Nkongo's eyes, as I have said, were small and deep set. So he has already told us about the eyes of Nkongo. They were deeply set, they were deep eyes, and they were small in size. Calculating and full of humor. Calculating means, what is the meaning of calculating? Means clever, shrewd eyes. So these were the eyes of Nkongo. Nkongo had shrewd, cunning, clever eyes, and they were full of humor. Means there was, you can say, kind of mischievous eyes, right? They were funny eyes, small in size, deeply set into the head, and shrewd and clever. So this was all about Nkongo's eyes. But now he has given a description of Nandi's eyes. Nandi's eyes were large and lustrous. So that is why the narrator was attracted towards her eyes. It was something more. Nandi's eyes were large and lustrous, and when she looked sideways, she showed the whites of them. So the white area which is inside her eyes, that was visible whenever she tried to look sideways, right? Towards the side, when she was looking in the front, the white area of her eyes was not visible, but whenever she looked sideways towards the sides, that white portion of her eye was visible. But they were frightened eyes. Another thing about her eyes was they were frightened. That did not look at you squarely. Squarely means directly. Nandi was kind of afraid. There was some kind of fear in her eyes, which the narrator was able to make out, which the narrator was able to understand. Because when an animal fears, when an animal is scared of you, right, or even you are scared of anyone, you will not look squarely, you will not look directly into the eyes of the other person when you are scared of him. The animals also have the similar behavior. They will not look directly into your eyes if they are scared of you. So this is something which the narrator observed about the eyes of Nandi. Nandi never looked directly into the eyes of the human being. They were the eyes of an animal that had little experience of human being. So why she didn't look into the eyes of the human being? Because she didn't have much experience of human beings. She has not lived much with human beings, and so she was kind of skeptical. She was kind of afraid about the human being. She was not sure how she will be treated by the humans. So there was certain amount of fear inside her, which was very obvious in her eyes. But even that limited experience has given her no reason to trust or respect her. So as it is, she had little experience of human beings. She has not been in the company. She has not spent a lot of time in the company of human beings. And whatever time she has spent with the human beings, that gave her no reason to trust them. So it means that there was something which happened between her and some human being, which made her feel frightened of this species, that is the humans. So whatever little experience she had didn't give her any reason to trust or respect them, right? So what was the reason why she was scared of the human beings? That has been explained later on by the narrator. When we released her from her cage, I could see the reason. So the moment Nandi came out of the cage, the narrator was able to understand why she is so much scared and afraid of the human race, right? He was able to detect the reason. I could see the reason. Right across the top of her skull was a scar. So this was the reason. Right across the top of her skull was a scar which must have measured 6 or 7 inches in length. So there was a scar, there was a mark of a wound on her skull, on her head, and it was the length of that scar. That mark was 6 or 7 inches long. Obviously, when she was being caught, some over-enthusiastic and intrepid human being had given her a blow with a machete, which had split her scalp like a razor. Right? So, what happened? How did she receive that mark? When she was being caught. Right? So, animals are caught from the forest or jungle. Right? So when she was being caught from the jungle, some over enthusiastic, some human being who was very enthusiastic, very much excited about catching her. So and intrepid means fearless human being. What has he done? He has used his knife. Machete is a type of a knife which is broad. He has used his knife and attacked her with his knife, which had split her scalp like a razor slash. So this mark was caused like a razor slash, like a cut which has been caused by a razor. So the cut on her skull, on her head, was very similar to the cut of a razor. So it was long, it was 6 or 7 inches long, but it resembles the cut of a razor. And how was this caused? This was caused by a machete, that is a non-knife, a broad knife, with which he was attacked in the past. It must have been a glancing blow. What do you mean by a glancing blow? What is a glancing blow? Glancing blow is a blow which is not done with full force. What would have happened if the person would have attacked Nandi with full blow it would have torn his skull and broken the bones of his skull, or even more severe injury must have been caused to Nandi. But it was just a slash, just a cut. The mark, it was obvious from the mark on her head that it was not a very deep cut. So the scar was still present, but the cut was not very deep, right? So why was the cut not deep? Because the blow was a glancing blow, right? So glancing blow is a blow which is not made with full force and rather at an angle, right? So see, if the blow comes directly straight, its impact will be more than the blow which is caused at an angle by putting the weapon at an angle. So that is a glancing blow on her skull, would have been split into two. If it would have not been a glancing blow, her skull must have been split into two. So the blow, though the blow was not very severe, was not made with full force, but again there was injury to her skull, and that is why the mark was there. With such an introduction to the human race, you could hardly blame Nandi for being a little antisocial. So the first introduction, earlier Nandi must have been living in the forest. So the first introduction to the human being was this, that the humans attacked her. So obviously, how can you expect the animal to trust you? When you hit the animal while meeting it for the first time, obviously, to be skeptical about your behavior. It's not going to trust you. So that was the reason, and you cannot blame Nandi for this kind of antisocial behavior, right? She was very unfriendly and she doubted human beings. This great slash was by now completely healed, and there was only the long white scar to be seen through the hair of her head. So now injury, the wound was completely healed, and only a scar was left. It was a white colored scar on her head, which was visible, seen through the hair of her head, which reminded me of the curious, imitative, and quite unnecessary partings that so many Africans crave in their hair with the aid of a razor. The Africans, they are very famous for strange hair styles. So now the Nandi's head is compared to the head of an African, right? They use razor to make strange partings of their hair, these Africans. So that is what the narrator is comparing. He is saying it resembles the Nandi's hair, and with that scar on his head, it made a permanent marking of his hair on the head, right? Because of that scar. It was a 6-7 inch long scar like this, which naturally parted her hair into two parts. So there will be no hair on the portion which received the injury, right? Hair will not grow that area. So it appeared like a parting which so many Africans desire to have, right? They use razor on their head to make some strange partings. So the narrator has compared Nandi's head to the Africans who are fond of making strange partings on their head. He kept Nandi in a separate cage for 24 hours. Why they kept her separately for 24 hours? Because they wanted to give the animal some time to adjust, right? Nandi came to a new place, so she needs some time and some space so that she is able to settle down, to adjust to her new home, and then this will enable the narrator and others in the zoo to understand her behavior also, right? So we kept Nandi in a separate cage for 24 hours so that she could settle down. The cage was next to Nkongo to enable her to see her future husband, but she evinced as little interest in him as she evinced him. So her cage, Nandi's cage was kept next to the cage of Nkongo so that she is able to see her future husband, right? So because she was brought into the zoo as a companion of Nkongo, right? So the cages were kept together to make her have a look at her future husband, but then she didn't show any interest. Right? Evinced any interest means she didn't show any interest. She showed little interest. She was not at all interested. She was completely indifferent. Right? So the presence of N. Congo must have made her feel a little better. This was also quite possible, but Nandi was not interested. So Nandi was not interested in Nkongo, neither did she show any interest in the human beings, the narrator and the other people who were there in the zoo, who were taking care of her. If you tried to talk to her and look directly at her face, her eyes would slide from side to side, meeting yours only for a sufficient length of time to judge what your next action might be. I told you that she was kind of skeptical about the behavior of the human beings, right? She cannot be very sure and she cannot trust human beings. So whenever you try to talk to her, the narrator and others must have tried to talk to her, must have tried to converse with her so that she feels comfortable and she starts considering humans to be her friend. But what happened? When you are looking directly at her face, she will not look directly at you. She will start looking here and there. Her eyes would slide from side to side. So from one side to the other, her eyes would move. And she will only meet your eyes. She will only make eye contact with you for a brief period of time to just study your intention, what you are up to, what your next move will be. Right? So for a very short period of time, she would make eye contact with you and then again start looking here and there. Why? And why did she make eye contact? Just to understand what your next move will be. What are you up to? What are you trying to do further? Because she had her own doubts as far as humans were concerned. Eventually deciding that the wire between herself and us rendered us comparatively harmless. So eventually deciding, the writer came to know that the wire which was between herself and us rendered us completely harmless. So both of us were harmless. She finally understood because she was kept in a cage which had wire. So that those wires, after some time, she understood this, that we are harmless, we are not going to harm her, and because of the presence of the wire, she is also safe. So realizing that we are harmless to her and preferring not to look at us. So once she was sure that we are harmless, we are not going to harm her, we don't have any intention of hitting her or anything of the sort, what did she do? And preferring not to look at us. Then she was sure. Once she was sure that we are not going to harm her, she decided not to look at us, not to look at the other or the other human being. She did turn her back. She turned her back towards us. We go on talking. Once she was sure that she is not in danger, she is safe, she even stopped looking for that brief time period into the eyes of the human being. She had such a woebegone, frightened face that one longed to be able to pick her up and comfort. So woebegone means feeling sad and depressed. Right? So her face appeared to be so depressed, so gloomy, so sad that while looking at her, anyone would have the intention of just lifting her up and making her feel comfortable, trying to console her, trying to make her happy. The narrator had to say, but she had been too deeply hurt, and this was the last thing she would have appreciated. But because she had been too deeply hurt and she was at a new place, she was not sure. So even this act of trying to comfort her, even this act of trying to lift her up, to comfort her, to make her feel safe, would have had an adverse effect. Right? She might not have appreciated this also. Even an act of comforting her, even an act of loving her might make her feel irritated and at risk. would take us, I reckon, roughly at least 6 months to gain her confidence, even with the example of the closed human syndrome. So the narrator realized that it will take approximately 6 months to make her feel comfortable in that place, even in the company of pro-human. Pro-human means friendly to human beings. Even in the company of a gorilla who is very much pro-human, who is very much friendly to human beings like Nkongo, spite of being in the company of Nkongo, still Nandi will take her time to be comfortable with human beings, be comfortable in the company of human beings, right? And that time period will be approximately 6 months, because she has been deeply hurt by the human being, and she will need, though the wound on her head was healed, though the physical injury was healed, there was only a scar left, but still the emotional injury, it will take time to heal, and will take time before she starts trusting the human beings again. The morning when we left her into the cage with Nkongo was a red letter day. Red letter day means very important, right? So then, after some time, earlier they were kept in separate cages so that they don't attack, don't become very aggressive. But after some time, what happened? One morning, it was decided that now Nandi should be shifted to Nkongo's cage. It was a red letter day. So it was an important day, but fraught with anxiety. Fraught with anxiety. Fraught with means filled with, to be full of something. So that day was full of anxiety. He had by now become so well established and was such a fearfully extroverted character that he obviously considered he was the only gorilla in the world, and all human beings were his friends. Why? Because by this time, Nkongo had started feeling, because everyone dotted on him in the zoo, right? He was very friendly to the human beings, and the human beings also, human beings which were in his contact, they loved him, right? And he has not seen any other gorilla in the zoo besides himself, right? So he has become, from the very beginning, he was very friendly to the human beings, because he didn't have any bad experience of the human company. You remember when Nkongo met the narrator for the first time? What did he do? Who can tell me? How did Nkongo react when he met the narrator for the first time? Yes, Abhisha.
Ma'am, he came walking to the narrator and lifted his arms as if the narrator would hold him up.
Yes. His first, when he met the narrator for the first time, he came walking towards the narrator and raised his arms and lift me up. He wanted the narrator to pick him up. He was so friendly, so confident, so extrovert towards human. But this was not the case with the Nandi, because both of them had different experiences of the human beings. See, the theme, one major theme of the story is cruelty towards animals. That is highlighted in this page. That is the way Nandi was treated, right? And how she received the injury on her head. So that particular theme is highlighted here, right? So till now see, Nkongo, it was quite possible that Nkongo will not like any other gorilla to enter in his space. That was also quite possible, right? So that is why it was an important, because still now he was the only gorilla in the zoo, right? And he received all the love, affection, care, attention of the human beings. This happens with us also, even the children in the family. This happens. One child is there in the family and you bring another child, they feel jealous, they don't like it. So it's the case of animals also, right? So it was fraught with anxiety. The writer was very nervous, very anxious about what is going to happen. He had by now become, so by this time, Npongo was very well settled, very extrovert character, and he considered himself to be the only gorilla in the world because he had not seen any other in the zoo, right? And he was of the opinion that all the human beings are his friends. He was very comfortable in the company of the human being, and he thought that he is the only gorilla in this world, right? So now, seeing another gorilla, how will he react? We did not know how he would react to Nandi's sullenness and anti-humanity. And then, keeping another gorilla in his cage, and the other gorilla was completely different. The nature of the other gorilla, that is Nandi, was completely different. It was a sullen and anti-social animal. Sullenness means bad tempered, right? Ill-tempered, bad-tempered, and antisocial. Although for 24 hours he could see her in the cage alongside him, he had shown absolutely no interest in her. So for 24 hours they were in the same cage, but he didn't show any interest in her presence, not at all interested in Nandi. Thus, when the great moment of introduction came, we stood by with buckets of water, brushes, nets, and long sticks, just in case the engagement party did not come off with the same romantic swing that one expects from reading women's magazines. So, everyone in the zoo, all the human beings, all the people, all the employees and all the workers in the zoo, including the narrator, they were ready. The moment they tried to interact inside the zoo, that is Npongo and Nandi, they tried to interact. Their first introduction started. For 24 hours, there was absolutely nothing between them. So then they tried to come together, right? Everyone outside that cage was ready with buckets of water, brushes. Why? Because they might need it. Both the gorillas it was quite possible that they might become violent. They might try to hurt each other, harm each other. So that is why they were ready with these things, because they will need these things to separate them and to save them. In case the engagement party did not, so this was like an engagement party, and if it did not come off with the same romantic swing, like the way it happens in the women's magazine, the way the description is given that everything is fine, everyone likes everyone, and it was everything was filled with great emotion. If this engagement party between these two gorillas doesn't turn out to be a very great thing, then they will require these things to separate them. When all was ready, we opened the shutters, and Nandi, looking thoroughly distrustful, sidled her way from the small cage into Npongo's comparatively palatial quarter. Right? So, sidled her way means she just went inside. When everything was ready, they made all these arrangements, and when everything was ready, the doors of Npongo's cage was open, and Nandi was made to move inside, looking thoroughly distrustful. So again, because she had this feature of not trusting anyone, so she was distrustful, sidled her way from the small cage into Npongo's comparatively palatial quarters. Palatial quarters means larger, like a palace. Palatial means like a palace, very huge. So Npongo's cage was a huge one. So from her small cage, Nandi was made to enter Npongo's cage. There she put her back to the wall and squatted. Squatted means in a crouching posture, she just sat. She just put her back to the wall and sat there very quietly. Her eyes darting to and fro with a curious, suspicious, yet belligerent expression on her face. Belligerent means hostile, full of hatred. So there was that hateful expression on her face. Her eyes were suspicious. There was suspicion in her eyes, and there was this hateful expression on her face. I think we should stop here. It's almost time. We'll continue further on the next turn. If you have any problem, you can ask.